Jenna Kamp earned her BA in English and Creative Writing Arts at Binghamton University and her master's in teaching from Seattle University. After a 2-year stint in a suburban public high school north of Seattle, she moved to California, or Los Angeles in 2001. And so she has over 25 years of experience as an educator, and just a strong love for like instructional coaching, mentoring, professional development, UDL, all the things that Sarah mentioned. And so currently she's the teacher residency program lead at PUC Schools. And a quote for her is that she loves working with teachers. The energy and passion it takes to start a career as a teacher is infectious. It helps us all rise to be our best selves for students in our classrooms. So for Jenna, there is no greater purpose. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Jenna.
Thank you, Dr. J, for that introduction, and thank you, everyone, for being here with us today. Yeah, I am deeply blessed to have Sarah, who was running this program for years before I came around, and she is such a supportive partner in this work, both at LMU, working with our residents, and for me personally. So I'm always grateful to Sarah. So my job coming in has been to, continue all the great work that she's been that she started. And so I want to talk about sort of where we are currently and what are the challenges that we're facing, now and moving forward. So we really have this opportunity of practice to develop and provide offerings that help support and retain teachers of color. So we've been really focused on recruitment, and that remains huge in terms of need and importance. And we wanted to take a look at how our teachers, how our residents who have graduated the program and have become teachers of record, or who are still working, as we've been talking about all of those barriers around testing and subject matter competency, all of our residents who may still have to pass exams like the RECA exam or the CSAT, et cetera. Or even finish their EdTPAs because of all those COVID times. So that got really strange. So how can we help retain teachers of color? And what we wanted to do, again, was to center resident and graduates of the program, to center their experiences and get their input and their perspectives. So biggest challenges remain around our testing, financial barriers, though the social, emotional, and mental health support, and making sure that we're really moving into those high leverage best practices in the classroom. And that's where things like UDL come in, and student engagement strategies. Yeah, next slide, please. Thank you. So this past about a month ago, our school system partnerships to Uplift Communities down here in Los Angeles area in the San Fernando Valley, we have a charter management organization of 14 schools. And so we came together in what we call the PUC wide, and brought all teachers together from across this K-12 system. And I had an opportunity at that day to bring together our graduates, mentors, and current residents. So there are pictures here of this session, and I called it Systems of Support for TRP Graduates. And so I had mentors in the room. This top left picture is a panel with mentor and graduates of the program. There are current residents in the room. There are mentors, past and present, and then most of the people in that room were graduates of the program. This program is in our 11th year, so we have a lot of graduates. We wanted to elicit the perspectives and experiences from our graduates, and to help brainstorm ideas for how to continue supporting graduates post-residency year and in their schools for a sense of belonging. Next slide, please. So we did identify and get some validation around the continued work that we're doing to support our graduates post-residency year. So we continue to support them with credentialing needs. We are offering RECA support classes, again, partnered with LMU, such as support with that. So RECA test prep classes, and we were able to bring in other employees who were not from TRP, but who are still working in our schools with our students. And they could also join those RECA test prep classes. We were doing one-on-one RECA support, like through video submissions. We're doing CSET tutoring, some ed TPA support. Again, this is often like one-on-one with someone who's a graduate of the program, still needs to pass their or to submit their ed TPA. I'm actually working with a number of teachers there. And again, word gets out, right? So it's not just, I'm not just working with TRP graduates, but there are other teachers in our system who still need to pass their ed TPA or who still need to pass their CSETs. And so I'm able to offer support to others as well, because we're all working for the same kids, right? We're all in this together. We also partner with the induction program, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more because some interesting findings came up as a result of our PUC-wide session in January around induction. So I'll talk about that in a moment. And some periodic check-ins. Trying to do it as much as possible, but again, trying to move towards a more consistent check-in with our graduates, especially those in their first and second year, to see how they're doing. Next slide, please. Yeah, so we gathered some information from the graduates in answer to this question: what might be some ways you wish the TRP had supported you in your first year of being a teacher of record? And these are some quotes I pulled that were resonated by in several different ways by different voices. That it felt really difficult coming into the job as a teacher of record in that first year without the full support of TRP. We worked so hard to give them a lot of support through their residency year. So they suggested a transition before the school year starts. So context around there, we have what we call Jumpstart, which is a transition into the program for residents as they're starting our program, the residency year. And these graduates were suggesting, how about something like that, like something like a Jumpstart that could happen before they jump into the classroom all on their own for teacher of record year. So we're working on that. Wish they supported with more check-ins. The check-ins and feedback would have been great. So again, trying to figure out how we can build capacity to get more touch points, more personal support for people, actual in-person, face-to-face, hey, how you doing? Again, the check-ins and supports to navigate those first couple of years, and then more mental health supports if possible. So again, the value of that support group through the residency year is something that graduates wish they had once they completed the program. So in terms of induction, we had a really strong conversation around induction. And one of the biggest challenges that graduates felt around the induction program was that they felt jumping into induction right after they've earned their credential and are in their first year of teaching was too much. Many of them are also in the master's program and are still going to school at night to earn their master's degree. And induction on top of that. There are so many different tasks and 2 inquiry cycles and a lot of meetings that you have to have and activities you're required to do for induction, that the graduates were thinking it would be a lot more meaningful to start induction later. Now, when later was a big source of contention and discussion, but they wanted to start induction later. And I see Sarah's put a note in the chat about the fact that induction is required by the state to begin the first year of teaching. So as I'm listening to graduates talking about wishing that they could start induction later, we have this tension, and I'll talk about that, I think, in our next slide. Right. So what came out of that PUC-wide was that we wanted TRP graduates to not start induction until maybe their 2nd year at least, or post-master's year. But this directly contradicts the preconditions for induction program. So we are continuing our collaboration with our induction program partners with us in this work to redesign the first year of induction. And we're doing this work right now, trying to find more supports of classroom management skills in particular, and sort of focusing first year of induction around classroom management, more supportive of mental health, and to be a little less intense in terms of submission requirements for induction. And again, some more plan supports, again, that came out of those voices during our PUC-wide. We're thinking about this grad start, a transition into their teacher of record year during the summer. I'm thinking about a more formalized program alumni buddies, like TRP alumni buddies, making sure we can pair brand new graduates with alum at the same school or school site who have been teaching a little longer. Some semi-annual TRP community events, something a little more that we get into this tradition of doing, every fall, every spring. Quarterly check-ins is the goal for all first-year graduates. And somehow I'm trying to figure out how can we continue support group now, moving from testing anxiety in our residency year to maybe more being a teacher anxiety and stress in your first year of teaching and needing all of meeting all the demands and the stuff like that. And so some takeaways. Really is becoming very clear to me just how important touch points and in-person check-ins are. I know this theoretically. We know that this from research, but getting in, seeing people, dropping in, bringing a candy bar or a coffee, or I had some swag T-shirts. We had to oh, these are the last of the old design. Have a T-shirt, anything like that. Just feels so important for a sense of belonging and support, and recognizing the humanity of each person. So that's an important takeaway. Removing barriers as they arise. A lot of things we don't foresee until it comes up. And then our ability to be flexible and responsive to that individual person's need, to that barrier that is maybe a barrier to you, but not to someone else. How can we assist with that? So really being supportive and flexible to meet individual person's needs, and remembering too that the cohort model itself is a support, even post-residency. So we talk a lot as we're recruiting candidates for the program that we have this cohort model, and that you work through the program and through your LMU classes, and you have weekly seminars together. So that support post-year, post-residency year is clearly still something that our graduates rely on. They have people, they went through this together. They're all now teaching at PUC schools, and I'm still relying on each other to get them through the challenges.
Oh, thank you, Jenna, so much for sharing your learnings and what is happening thus far in your space. It was very powerful, this idea of thinking about the touch points and how we have to intentionally continue to support our residents throughout the program, but also as well as after. I love that idea of that grad start for the teacher year. I don't know what your teach start, I don't know what you would call it.
I don't know what we're going to call it either. Right now I'm calling it grad start because I couldn't come up with anything catchier. So if you got any ideas, you let me know. I
will. I love that. So in a moment, we'll give everyone a chance to see if they have any questions for Jenna, and then we're going to put you in some breakouts to really discuss what's coming up for you, to kind of return back to your guiding questions, and then we'll take a break. So I'll just give you a little preview of what's going to happen. But are there questions for Jenna? What's coming up for you as you hear her talk about their intentional work to support not only their residents, but their graduates, so to support that recruitment and the retention? What's coming up for you? Go ahead and type your questions in the chat.
I see a question on kind of progress making in induction chats with CTC. That's a good question. If my induction partner was here, I'd just pass that right on to Trish. That's something I can continue to work, I'll find out. I don't know yet. But we do know that there is some flexibility in the way, that the induction program is designed. And so it's in that flexibility that we are seeking to make some tweaks to support. We're also taking a look at different lengths of in the induction program. There is this early completion option that's offered. So maybe like trying to figure out how can we ease into induction, maybe with a one inquiry cycle for the first year, instead of right now our induction program requires one full inquiry cycle, which has all sorts of different requirements that go around it. In one semester. So we're thinking like maybe just making that one a year for the first year and then upping the ante second year. So different kinds of flexible options is what we're working on.
And I would also like to offer to the group that this is like to be mindful, this is Jenna's first year working in the equity deep dive. So this is what you're learning is what she's learning in real time. So as they honed in on their opportunity to practice, they were just now there's a part where you have to do some data collection and an analysis of this data. So these are like fresh findings. So the supports and the actions haven't all been like fully baked yet because we're still in that process of this work. But what you're seeing here, and I just want to thank Jenna for her vulnerability and willingness to share what they're learning as they're doing this work. It's important work for everyone in this conversation, but just I want to throw that out there. So kudos there. And continue, of course, to again, let's show Jenna some love. That's amazing.